안녕하세요. 산타잉글리시입니다. 오늘은 Magic Treehouse Book 22 Revolutionary War on Sunday 책을 처음부터 끝까지 읽어볼 건데요. Prologue. One summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. 8-year-old Jack and 7-year-old sister Annie climbed into the treehouse. They found that it was filled with books. Jack and Annie soon discovered that the treehouse was magic. It could take them to the place in the books. All they had to do was to point to a picture and wish to go there. Along the way, Jack and Annie discovered that the treehouse belongs to Morgan Le Fay. Morgan is a magical librarian from Camelot, the long-ago kingdom of King Arthur. She travels through time and space gathering books. In Magic Treehouse Books 5 to 8, Jack and Annie helped free Morgan from a spell. In Books 9 to 12, they solved 4 ancient riddles and became master librarians. In Magic Treehouse Books 13 to 16, Jack and Annie had to save 4 ancient stories from being lost forever. In Magic Treehouse Books 17 to 20, Jack and Annie freed a mysterious little dog from a magic spell. In Magic Treehouse Books 21 to 24, Jack and Annie have a new challenge. They must find 4 special kinds of writing for Morgan's library to help save Camelot. They are about to set out to find the second of these.
Chapter 1, Wednesday.
Wake up, Jack! Annie whispered. Jack opened his eyes. He looked at the clock. It was 6 a.m. Come on, Annie whispered. She was standing at his bedroom door, already dressed. Now? Said Jack. Yeah, it's Wednesday. We have to go to the treehouse, she said. Oh man, Wednesday, said Jack. Suddenly he was wide awake. We have to save Camelot, said Annie. I know, said Jack, scrambling out of bed. Meet you out front, said Annie. Jack quickly changed into jeans and t-shirts. He threw his notebook and pencil into his backpack. Then he slipped down the stairs and out the front door. Annie was waiting on the gray early light. All set? She whispered. Yep, said Jack. They took off running across their yard. They ran down the quiet street and into the Frog Creek woods. Soon they came to the treehouse. They climbed up the rope ladder. In the early light, they saw Morgan's note. The same note they'd found on Sunday. Jack picked it up and read aloud. Dear Jack and Annie, Camelot is in trouble. To save the kingdom, please find these 4 special kinds of writing for my library. Something to follow, something to send, something to learn, something to lend. Thank you, Morgan. Annie picked up the piece of paper lying on the floor. It was the list of rules from the famous nurse Claire Barton. They had met her on a journey to the Civil War. On Sunday we find the first special writing, said Annie. Something to follow. Yeah, said Jack. And now we need to find something to send. He picked up the book lying on the note. The cover showed us a snowy riverbank. The title was The Revolutionary War. Jack frowned. Uh-oh, said Annie. Another war, said Jack, sighing. You still want to go? Said Annie. We have to, said Jack. We hated the suffering we'd seen in the Civil War. But they had no choice. They had to help Morgan and save Camelot. He pointed at the cover of the book. I wish we could go there, Jack said. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still.
Chapter 2, Day or Night.
Jack shivered. The wind blew hard. It's cold, he said. He could see his breath in the air. Wrap your scarf tighter, said Annie. Jack looked down. He had a wool scarf around his neck. He was also wearing wool pants with a button at the knees, a coat, and a hat with 3 corners. On his feet were funny-looking shoes with buckles. In place of his backpack was a leather bag. Annie was wearing a long coat over a long dress. Jack pulled his scarf tighter. Then he looked out the window with Annie. They landed in the trees near the icy river. The sky was gray and heavy with clouds. It's almost day. We're almost night. I can tell, said Annie. Yeah, I hope it's almost day, said Jack. I wonder where we'll find something to sand, said Annie. Jack shrugged. First we have to find the Revolutionary War, he said. He opened the research book. By the gray light, he read, over 200 years ago, the United States was made of 13 colonies ruled by Britain. From 1775 until 1792, American patriots fought for independence for Britain. This is called the Revolutionary War. Jack took out his notebook. He wrote, American patriots fight for independence from Britain. Jack turned his page. There was a picture of soldiers in red uniforms. He read aloud, during the Revolutionary War, British soldiers wore red uniforms. For this reason they were called redcoats. Jack wrote in his notebook, British equal redcoats. Wow, snow, said Annie. Jack looked up from his writing. Annie was holding her hand out the window. A few snowflakes blew into the treehouse. Not much yet, said Jack, but we'd better find the special writing soon. Well, stop reading and come on, said Annie. She buttoned up her coat and started down the ladder. Okay, said Jack. She packed the research book and his notebook into his bag. Then he followed Annie. When he stepped onto the ground, there were more snow flurries. The sky was growing darker. I'm afraid it's almost night instead of day, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie, looking up. Oh, look, people! She pointed up the river. In the misty distance was a campfire. Several men sat around the fire. They all had muskets. Maybe they can help us, said Annie. She started away, but Jack grabbed her. Wait, I think they're soldiers, he said. They had muskets. Remember the muskets from the Civil War? The guns that the soldiers carried? Oh, yeah, said Annie. They might be redcoats, said Jack. Let's sneak closer and get a look at their uniforms. Quick, said Annie, before it's too dark to see.
Chapter 3. It's time.
Annie lifted up her long dress and ran to the tree closer to the river. Jack held on his hat and ran after her. They peeked out from the tree. More snow flurries swirled in the twilight. Redcoats, whispered Annie. Can't tell, said Jack. In the flickering firelight, the men didn't seem to be wearing uniforms at all. They wore ragged pants and coats. Some even had street wraps and tighter clothes. Come on, Annie said. She ran to a tree closer to the river. Jack followed. This is the closest we can get, he whispered. But we still can't tell what they're wearing, said Annie. She crept forward and hid behind the scraggly bush. No closer, Jack whispered, but Annie took off again. She crouched behind a rock. She was only about 10 feet from fighting fire. Oh, brother, she's way too close now, Jack thought. But he took a deep breath and ran to the rock. When he joined Annie, she looked at him, going, This is like hide and seek, she whispered. It's not a game, Annie, Jack whispered back. It's war. Be serious. I am serious, said Annie, her voice raising. Shh, said Jack. But it was too late. One of the men stood up and looked around. What's the matter, Captain? Another asked. I heard something, the captain. He held up his musket. Jack stopped breathing. Who's there? The captain shouted. Jack looked at Annie. She shrugged. We're caught, she whispered. Who's there? The captain shouted again. Just a kid. Annie answered with a small voice. Come out and show yourself, the captain said. Jack and Annie stood up from behind the rock. They both held up their hands. "We come in peace," said Annie. In the shadowy twilight, the captain moved toward them. "Who are you?" he asked. "We're Jack and Annie," said Annie. "Why were you spying on us?" he asked. "We weren't spying," said Jack. "We just want to know if you're redcoats or patriots." "Which would you like us to be?" the shadowy figure asked. "Patriots," said Jack. "We are patriots," the captain said. "Thank goodness," said Annie. The captain smiled. "Where are you from?" he asked. His voice had softened. "We're visiting relatives nearby," Jack said. "Frog Creek, Pennsylvania," said Annie at the same time. "But that's amazing," the captain said. "My farm is in Frog Creek. Where is your farm?" Jack didn't know how to answer. "It's near the Frog Creek woods," said Annie. "All farms are near woods," the man said with a laugh. "What?" Just then someone called from the dark. "It's time, Captain." The captain turned to the man near the campfire. "It's time," he repeated. The soldiers quickly put on their fire. They stood their muskets on their shoulders. "Time for what, Captain?" Annie asked. "Time to meet up with the commander-in-chief," he said. "Return your family now so your mother and father won't worry about you." "Yes, sir," said Jack. "It is nice to see children," the captain said. "I was just trying to let them to my own son and daughter. I didn't know what to say." "Tell them that you miss them," said Annie. The man smiled. "And I do, indeed," he said softly. Then he turned and headed up the riverbank. His ragged men followed behind. Soon they all disappeared into the cold mist. Jack looked around. The wind was blowing harder. The snow was sticking to the ground. "What now?" he asked. More than anything, he wanted to go back home. With the soldiers gone, the riverbank felt lonely and scary. "We still have to find something to sand," said Annie. "I know," said Jack. "Maybe we should just follow the captain and his men," said Annie. "They might land us to something." Jack wasn't sure it was a good idea, but he didn't have a better one. "Okay, but let's try to not get caught this time," he said. He and Annie took off through the frozen twilight, following the snowy footprints of the American patriots.
Chapter 4. Commander-in-Chief.
Jack and Annie ran along the riverbank. The wind whooshed over the cold water. Wet snowflakes hissed in the dark. But then Jack heard another sound. He heard voices, a lot of voices. He and Annie stood and came upon hundreds and hundreds of soldiers gathered near the river. Many carried oil lanterns. The lanterns gave an eerie glow to the snowy twilight. "The captain and his men must be here somewhere," said Jack, looking around. Boats like giant canoes were tied in the river. Men with leading horses and loading cannons on the boats. "What are they all doing?" said Annie. Jack pulled out the Revolutionary War book. He read in a whisper. "On Wednesday, December 25th, 1776. "December 25th? That's Christmas," said Annie. "Today's Christmas." "Cool," said Jack. He started reading again. "On Wednesday, December 25th, 1776, the patriots launching were ragged and weary. Many were ready to give up. Then something began to happen what they truly were done. About 2,400 American patriots gathered on the west bank of the Delaware River in Pennsylvania. They prepared to cross the river to go a secret mission." "A secret mission? Oh man," said Jack. He started to pull out his notebook. "Attention, troops, and the commander-in-chief," a soldier shouted. Jack and Annie saw a man in dark cape and the three corners riding a white horse. The commander-in-chief loomed above the crowd of soldiers. His cape flapped in the wind. He sat calmly in the dignity on the back of a horse. Even at distance, Jack thought the commander-in-chief looked familiar, very familiar, but he couldn't figure out why. "A dangerous mission lies before you all," the man shouted above the wind. "But I want you to have courage. You must remember the words of Thomas Paine." The commander-in-chief held up a piece of paper. He read on his man. "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriots will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands now deserves the love and think of men and women." "Oh, wow, that's great," whispered Annie. Listening to the powerful words, Jack felt his spirits rise too. "The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph," the commander-in-chief read on. "What we pay too cheap, we esteem too lightly. In this dearness only that gave everything its value." There was a silence, as if everyone was thinking about the words the men had read. Then the soldiers started cheering and clapping. They didn't seem tired at all anymore. Now they seemed eager to set up the mission. The commander-in-chief saluted his men. He steered his horse toward the river. As the horse moved past them, Jack got a better look at the rider. He gasped. Of course, he thought. He'd seen that face before. On dollar bills. Jack grabbed Annie's hand. "I know who the commander-in-chief is," he exclaimed. "He's George Washington."
Chapter 5. The Letter.
"George Washington? Really?" said Annie. "Yeah, I think he is," said Jack. "Wow, where'd he go?" said Annie. "I want to see him again. Come on." She started toward the river. "Wait, don't go far," said Jack. "I just want to make sure it's him." He opened the Revolutionary War book. He found a picture of the boats in the river bank. He read, "When General George Washington gathered his troops at the Delaware River, he was commander-in-chief of the whole American army. The general led the army for 6 years until America became a free and independent nation. In 1789, he was elected the first president of the new United States." "Oh, man, it is him," said Jack. He pulled out his notebook and wrote, "General George Washington helped America become independent." "Hey, what are you reading?" someone asked. Jack looked up. A bearded soldier was pointing at him. Jack shoved the Revolutionary War book and his notebook into his bag. "Nothing, sir," he said. He started walking away. The man shouted after Jack, but Jack ran down the river and lost himself in the crowd of soldiers. When he looked over his shoulder, he was relieved. The bearded man was nowhere in sight. "Stop, young man!" Someone showed a lantern light in Jack's face. Jack gasped. It was the captain. "I told you to go home, Jack," the captain said sternly. "Where's your sister?" Jack looked around. "Where was Annie?" "I don't know," he said. "Find her at once and go back to your family," the captain ordered. "Our secret mission is very important. Children will only get in the way." "Yes, sir," said Jack. The captain started to leave, but he stopped. "I wonder if you could do me a favor, Jack," he asked. "Sure," said Jack. The captain pulled out his letter. "This is my letter to my children," he said. "It's a farewell letter. Would you please take it back with you to Frog Creek?" "Yes, sir," said Jack. "You must only send it if you hear that we are afraid of the mission, and many patriots were lost," said the captain. "Yes, sir," said Jack. The captain handed his letter to Jack. "I copied the general's speech for my children," the captain said. "If anything bad happens to me, I hope those words give me the courage." The captain then turned and disappeared into the crowd. "Good luck, Captain," Jack called. He hoped he could never have to send a letter to the grandchildren. Suddenly Jack clutched the letter to his chest. "Sand!" he whispered. The letter was the writing they'd been looking for. Something to send. He and Annie go home now. Their mission was over. Jack shoved the captain's letter into his bag. Now he just have to find Annie. As he looked around, he shivered. Where is she? He muttered. Jack started moving through the crowd, looking for Annie. It was hard to see. The wind was blowing harder. The snow fell faster. Jack started to panic. Annie! He called. He rode quickly in and out of the crowd. He kept calling for her. None of the soldiers could listen. They were all too busy. Finally, Jack came to the river. Through the lamplight mist, he saw soldiers waiting to get into the boats. Some had already climbed aboard. Jack! Came a cry. Jack saw a figure of a small girl. She was sitting on the back of the biggest boat. No way, he whispered. Jack charged down the boat. He stood at the edge of the water. What are you doing? Jack shouted. This is George Washington's boat. Annie said, it's our biggest chance to spend time with him. We might go on again when we run. Jack looked at the other end of the huge boat. Through the mist was falling snow. He saw the commander-in-chief talking to his crew. We can't go with him, said Jack. We'll get in the way of secret missions. Besides, we have something to send now. What? How? Said Annie. A letter. The captain gave me the letter to get back to Rock Creek, said Jack. We're only supposed to stand if someone bad said to the captain. We can go home now. Oh, can we go a little later? Annie asked. Jack climbed into the boat and pulled her out. No, come on, he said, taking her hand. Suddenly, the crew moved to the back of the boat near Jack and Annie. The men grabbed their oars and started pushing the boat away from the shore. We're taking off, said Annie. No, we have to get out, Jack said to the rowers. But the men were working too hard to pay attention. They were using their oars back on the ice at the edge of the river. Excuse me, Jack said in a loud voice. Just then the boy jolted forward. Jack nearly lost his balance. The boat broke through the more ice. Rough waves sloshed against its side. We have to go back, said Jack. Too late, said Annie. They were headed across the Delaware River.
Chapter 6. Crossing the Delaware.
The huge boat rocked in the water. Giant chunks of ice smashed against its sides. Thanks a lot, Annie, Jack whispered. He shivered in the snowy cold. We're not supposed to go on their secret mission with them. It's okay, she whispered. Maybe we can help George Washington. Are you nuts? Jack whispered. We should be on our way home now. The boat hit the piece of ice. The boat bounced, then dipped into the river. Jack clung to the wooden side. He hoped they wouldn't turn over. Nobody could survive in this icy water, he thought. It would be like sinking on the Titanic. The crew fought hard to keep the boat moving forward. They rowed past chunks of ice into the smoother part of the river. Light from oil lamps shone in the water, making the ice chunks behind them glow like huge glittering jewels. Jack looked back. Other boats were following them. They were filled with soldiers, horses, and cannons. Where exactly are we? Annie whispered. Jack shrugged. He reached into his bag and pulled out the Revolutionary War book. By the dim lantern light in the boat, he searched through the war book. He found a painting of General Washington crossing the Delaware River. He showed the painting to Danny. They each read the caption silently. After George Washington crossed the Delaware, he led his men on a 9-mile march to the British post. The post was filled with Hessians, Germans and soldiers hired by British to fight from them. The American parades caught them off guard. The Hessians never thought the Patriots were intact in the stormy Christmas night. It was a great victory for the Patriots. They captured almost 1,000 Hessians. Hardly any of Washington's men were lost. Yay! We won't have to send the captain's letter, Annie exclaimed.
Shh,
said Jack. But George Washington turned around and looked back at Jack and Annie. Oh no, Jack thought. Caught again. He closed his eyes as if that would make him invisible. He's coming, said Annie. Jack looked up. George Washington was making his way back toward them. The next moment, the commander-in-chief loomed above them like a giant shadow. Children, he asked in a quiet, angry voice. Sorry, Jack squeaked. Merry Christmas, said Annie. But George Washington did not say Merry Christmas back.
Chapter 7. Spies.
What are you doing here? George Washington asked. The commander-in-chief sounded furious. We made a mistake, Jack said. We didn't mean to come. George Washington turned to the rowers. Who let these children sneak aboard? He asked in a stern voice. The men looked at Jack and Annie with surprise. It's not their fault, Annie said quickly. They were working too hard to notice us. Just then the board banged against the ice. The ice cracked, the boat moved on, then bumped against the shore. Two soldiers jumped out and pulled the boat up to shore. George Washington looked at Jack and Annie. This boat is returning to get more rain, he said. When it does, you two will get out and stay on the other shore. Yes, sir, said Jack. He felt very embarrassed. George Washington then gave orders to the rowers. Make sure these children do not board any other boats during return, he said. The general stepped onto the riverbank. The wind started to pick up. The snow fell harder. As the crew unrolled the boat, neither Jack and Annie spoke. Jack was miserable. They would cause trouble for George Washington just when the general was trying to make an American independent nation. Jack desperately wished Annie had on the river there. They watched more and more boats and landed on the riverbank. As the soldiers unrolled it, the weapons and horses, a freezing rain began. Now rain, snow, and sleet fell together. Jack heard George Washington call to one of his men. This storm is getting worse, Major, the general said. Yes, sir, the major said. I think we're in for a blizzard, said Washington. Yes, sir, our mission may be hopeless, sir, said the major. Should we call it off? No, you shouldn't, Jack whispered. You're going to win. Should we turn back, sir? The major said. No, said Annie. She stood up. The board rocked. Don't turn back, George Washington, sir, she shouted. You have to march on, sir. You have to attack the Hessians, sir. Shh. Jack tried to pull Annie back down. We're not supposed to know about the secret mission. How did she know our plans, Major? George Washington asked. Listen to us, sir, said Annie. You were going to win. She pulled out the Jack and jumped out of his boat. Annie! Jack leaped onto the riverbank. He scrambled after Annie up the steep, icy slope. You have to lead your man, General Washington, sir, Annie said. The Hessians will surprise. They think no army will march in on a night like this. How do you know all this? The major shouted above the storm. How do you know that the Hessians are doing and thinking? For once, Annie seemed lost for words. She just gasped, said Jack. Just then, the bearded soldier who had yelled at Jack and Annie stepped forward. I saw this boy earlier, he said. He was writing things down. No, I was just... Now Jack was at the lost for words. Seize them, the major shouted. They're spies.
Chapter 8. These are the times.
Jack grabbed Annie's hand. We're not spies, he said. The world around the faced George Washington. General Washington, remember those words you said to your men? Jack said. You should believe them yourself, sir. What are you talking about? George Washington asked. Jack yanked the captain's letter from his bag. By the light of the lamp, he read the words the captain had copied to the children. These are the times to try men's souls, Jack read. But he that stands in now the principles of love and thanks to man and woman, the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. Jack looked at George Washington. Even if things look possible, you should keep going, sir, he said. The harder things seem, the greater triumph, right? That's where you met men. You have to keep going for their sake. Yes, and you have to keep going for my sake, said Annie. For the sake of the future children in America, sir. As what the whistle hissed about them, George Washington stared a long moment at Jack and Annie. Finally, he put a hand on each of their shoulders. I do not know who you are, he said. I do not know how you know what you know. But I believe you. For your sake, and for the future children of America, we will march on. Yay! Cried Annie. Yay! Said Jack softly. He sighed with relief and put away Captain's letter. Now get back to the boat, said George Washington. You must leave the fighting to us, to me and my men. Jack felt very grateful to George Washington and his whole army. They were risking the lives of all American children, past the future. He could barely speak. Thank you, sir, said Annie. Thank you both for telling me to listen to my own advice, said George Washington. He called to the rowers waiting in the boat. Take good care of these two. George Washington climbed onto his horse. He looked down at Jack and Annie. Merry Christmas, he said. Then the commander-in-chief rode away into the stormy darkness.
Chapter 9. Flash.
All aboard! One of the rowers called. Jack and Annie hurried down the steep river bank. They climbed back into the boat. The crew pushed away from the shore, the boat starting back to the icy turning waters in the Delaware. Jack was freezing and sleeting in snow, but he didn't worry about that now. He was thinking instead of how they hurt George Washington. He was thinking about how they would help keep history on his course. Jack felt great. When they got to the riverbank, Jack and Annie jumped out of the boat. Thanks, Jack yelled to the rowers. With the wind at their backs, Jack and Annie took off to the blizzard. They ran down the icy bank of the Delaware River. Thunder rumbled in the snowy sky. Lightning zigzagged over the roads. How do we find us? Cried Annie. I don't know, said Jack. But don't worry, we'll find out.
He felt very confident now.
After meeting George Washington, after being thanked by George Washington, he and Annie ran onto the rain and the snow and the sleet. They ran on the riverbank until the bright flash of lightning in the sky. Jack saw it. The treehouse was directly to their left, high on a tall tree covered with snow. Over here! He shouted. Jack and Annie ran to the edge of the woods. In the dark, Jack looked up, searching for the treehouse. Lighting made the woods again. Jack saw a rope ladder flapping idly in the wind. He grabbed it. Annie, he called. Here, she said. Let's go, he said. They climbed up the swaying ladder and scrambled into the treehouse. They were soaking wet and covered with slush and snow. Annie grabbed the Pennsylvania book. I wish we could go there, she shouted. The wind blew even harder. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still.
Chapter 10. This peaceful place.
Gray early lights lit the treehouse. Birds sung in the woods. The summer wind felt warm and gentle. Jack and Annie were wearing their nice dry clothes again. Oh man, said Jack. It's good to be home. Yeah, said Annie, sighing, back in this peaceful place. Jack pulled the captain's letter out of his back. He turned it over. It was addressed to Molly and Ben Sanders. apple tree from Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. Molly and Brian left the farm to the woods over 200 years ago, said Jack. Annie gently touched the letter. Your dad is going to make it home, kids. He missed you. Annie whispered as if she could send comforting words back through the time. Jack carefully placed the special writings from the Revolutionary War next to the writing from the Civil War. Look, said Annie. She picked up the note lying in the corner. It said simply, "Come back on Tuesday." Another message from Morgan, said Annie. Jack smiled. He pulled out the pack. See you on Tuesday, Treehouse, he said. He started down the rope ladder. Annie followed. In the early daylight, they ran through the Frog Creek woods. Then they ran down the street. They climbed into their porch and nestled against the railing. They looked down at the dawn sky. Jack remembered the whoosh of cold wind of the Delaware. He remembered the hiss of wet snow and slosh of ice waves. He remembered George Washington reading to his men. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph, Jack whispered. Those words are true, said Annie. It was a hard conflict, and I feel glorious right now, don't you? Jack laughed. Yeah, definitely, he said. Then he and Annie slipped into their quiet, peaceful house. 네, 이게 마지막 챕터의 마지막 장인데요. 여기 집이 있고 또 잭이랑 애니가 있죠. 아무래도 여기가 Frog Creek Woods인 것 같아요. 네, 다음 영상도 시청해주시고 감사합니다.